musicians are in the fall show, the winter show, including Georgie Holbrook in the cast. And so they are busy rehearsing, and a good time will be had by all. So I will be brief tonight, send you home tired but happy after a short yet inspiring talk on this. This is the 500th anniversary of the death of Leonardo Da Vinci this year, earlier, May. But Da Vinci was this character of lore. You learned about him in school somewhat, but what they probably didn't teach you, because they couldn't really have time, was how many different arts and sciences this guy was involved in. I didn't realize it, but he basically created modern botany. I would not have associated him with this. I'm thinking Mendel and some others, but he basically, taxonomy, you know, the phylum, the stratas of phylum and species and all of that kind of stuff. He basically pioneered all of that. His, of course, artwork, his architecture, his engineering. And so this month I've selected some quotes of his to build talks around. Now, he was not a metaphysician in the sense that we are. We don't want to say that, and it'd be glib to say that, you know, somebody lived 500 years ago. Well, they were religious scientists. They just didn't know. No, he wasn't. No, he wasn't. He was a good Catholic, is what he was. A very devout man, like his friend Michelangelo. But he locked onto certain ways of being in the world that sound metaphysical. And he locked onto them because they work. They just work. He knew that what mind can conceive, you can achieve. Any person can manifest what they can envision. So we'll be getting into this throughout the month with the assistance of some guests and some fun stuff we'll do a little closer to Halloween and all. But tonight I wanted to set the tone for it with a statement of his that says, nature never breaks her own laws. Nature never breaks her own laws. And I want you to think about what that means to you and how you can apply that. First of all, what is nature? Nature, as another person has said, I think it was Ashley Montague, he said, nature is not what's happening outdoors. Nature is not the garden. Nature is not the forest. Nature is you. You are nature. You are nature. When you're exploring the forest and the beach and the prairie, it's, you know, those are locations. Those are geographic locations. But nature is what's happening through you right now. You are a part of nature. You and I, to get right down to the nitty-gritty of it, are carbon-based life forms. We're actually mammals. Did you know that? We're mammals. We're primates and we're mammals. And we have a form of knowing that we believe, we humans believe, to be superior to or more all-encompassing than any other life form on this planet. Part of the funny of that is we're the only ones who think that. You ask the whales, you ask the dolphins, you ask the gorillas, you ask you ask the trees for that matter. Are they going to say this? I don't know. And if they did, are we smart enough to understand them when they say it? But we humans, we decide that, well, we're the crown of creation. Well, whether or not that's true, we do know that we know. We know that we possess reflective, self-conscious awareness. We know that the I am that I am. I know, I think, therefore, that's what Descartes said. Descartes said, I think, therefore I am. And the story goes that he walked into a bar one night, and the bartender said, would you like a beer? And he said, I think not. And he disappeared. So, anyway, the nature then is what's happening through us. Nature is who we are. And if nature never breaks her own laws, then what's a law? Well, a law, spiritually speaking, and also in terms of physical sciences, is a principle that's consistent. A law is consistent. That's the first thing you want in a law, is to be consistent. If it's not consistent, it's not a law. It's a random application of something. Consistent means like gravity. If I drop something, it falls. If you drop something, it falls. If a nice person drops something, it falls. If a person who's not nice drops it, if a person on the other side, and you get the picture. Whatever, it's the same. The same rain falls on everybody. A principle is consistent across the board in terms of the use that's made of it. And therefore, you can depend on it. You can lean on the thing. You can say, this is going to work. Even when in the local application of it, there may be a hitch. And the example I always use is like if you were to walk in, from time to time we have a power outage in this area, you know, if you live around here, and you walk in this building, let's say one night, and the lights don't come on. You don't think, and I don't think, that the principle of electricity has failed. We have greater faith in it than that. We realize that it's a circuit, or it's a transformer fell off a pole, or it's something in between the absolute subjective principle by which electricity works, in between that and that switch. And that's a long way between these two, where a lot can happen. And so we call in the person who knows where to look for where the adjustment needs to be made. Spiritually speaking, the same is true with you or me in terms of our spiritual life. There's nothing wrong with your relationship with God. Your relationship with God is actually far more complicated than that. It's a relationship of God. You are the experience that God is having in this world at this time by means of you. Nothing is wrong with that. Nothing ever could be. Nothing ever could be. One of our presidential candidates was getting some grief because he's gay, and he said, you don't have a problem with me, you have a problem with my Creator. And I love that. I thought that was just, isn't that a beautiful way to put it? It's like, because this is who I am. Because God doesn't make mistakes, and this is who I am. So between the source of you and the experience of you, there's a long distance in there. And while nothing has ever been wrong or ever could be in terms of your relationship with your Creator, things can go wrong in terms of your relationship with yourself and therefore with other people. Issues like self-esteem and so on, which can lead to behaviors and outcomes that aren't necessarily desirable, you see? And so we don't look to say, well, if somebody's having a bad day, we don't say, well, God stopped existing. You say, well, no, they took on something. They're managing information in a way that's not working for them, or I'm managing information in a way that's not working for me. So what you want in a law is you want dependability, you want universality. And that means everybody at the same time could tap into the thing. And it's never going to overload. It's not like got bandwidth or something where the system's going to crash. You know, they say I broke the internet, where all of a sudden we're going to take God down because everybody's praying or everybody's having a higher aspiration at the same time. No, because it's power, it's universally available, absolutely inexhaustible. And Ernest Holmes talks about this. He says this power, there is one power throughout creation that is inexhaustible. And that means this demand can be placed on it simultaneously. It also means that it's not spread out thin at the edges. So we think of things often in material ways, like there's only so much this or that to go around. And this good, this spiritual value, this spiritual principle is limitless. And so whatever demand is placed on it, it will respond to. So that's a law. So nature never breaks her own laws. So how many laws are there? This came up in our class the other day. Somebody asked, how many laws are there? You know, we could say, well, there are 12 laws, or there's 73, or 144 laws. So I don't know how many laws there are. So I make it simple for myself, and I say there's one. There's one law, the great I am. And then there's a use that's made of that, a demand that's placed on that, which makes it look like a separate law, or a distinct law, you know? You know what I'm saying? It's like you need it to show up for you in a certain way, and so it takes on a certain style of its own. And we say, oh, it looks like I caused something and generated an effect, so I'm going to call this the law of cause and effect. Or as we were talking about in class, the law of attraction. You've heard of the law of attraction. It got a lot of ink a few years ago, The Secret and so on. The law of attraction means I attract into myself that which I am. Well, if you're going to have a law of attraction, you learn this in basic physics, you've got to have an equal and opposite law of repulsion. And so there's a law of repulsion too, isn't there? It says I push away from myself. I keep my distance from those things that are not in vibration with who I feel myself to be. But here's the thing, these are not all separate laws. They're just applications of the one law, applications of the I am. So what Da Vinci saw was just this. He said, and Emerson, who we just finished a class on this afternoon for a few hours, he said the same thing. He said, around every circle, a larger circle may be drawn. Around every circle, a larger circle may be drawn. So you take the great I am principle, the great I am law, and you get comfortable and conversant with it in a certain area of your life, and you think, I got this going on. This is okay, I've got it all figured out. This is what I need to do. Until you need to do something else. And then what are you going to do? And so humans, in Da Vinci's time, and on up to it, they moved across the landscape largely on foot, sometimes on horseback. Horses had been brought into his part of the world from Arabia. They had wagons and things, you know, and it took a while to get there. A friend recently was on the Oregon Trail, and he said you can still see the wheel ruts from the wagons, the Conestogas of the pioneers who were making their way across. They sank into the mud. You can still see it. It's kind of, and you know, they say the gauge of a modern railroad track is the same width as the wheels on Roman chariots. I don't know if that's true, but I've read that several places, and since it's on the internet, I tend to believe it. But anyway, it suggests, you know, there was a uniform kind of thing. Well, this is how people moved. Well, it was, you know, it took a while. You know this. And, they try to move goods and supplies, and stuff would rot, or it'd fall off, or it'd rain on it, you know, or get plundered by thieves or stuff. And so transportation has always been a big deal in the human evolution. And so what Leonardo did was, while everyone else is looking at, what are we going to do about the broken wheel on that wagon? He's looking up at the birds. And he's seeing and he's drawing them. And he's not drawing them as pets or Disney cartoons. He's drawing them as machines. He's drawing them as, how do they do that? How do their wings make them fly? Because Leonardo knew that if you drop something, it falls. And why does it fall? It falls because its weight is greater than that of the air it displaces. You take an iron bar down to the water and you drop it. Why does it sink? Because its weight is greater than that of the water that it displaces. Well, what if you had a mechanism by which the balance was even? And this, he maintained, is what birds have, either through the size of the wingspan or the rapidness of the wing beats, which is how a little thing like the hummingbird, which has little bitty wings, or the bumblebee. You know, a bumblebee, they say, cannot fly. It's technically impossible, and yet the thing does. Why? Because it's never heard that. I've read that on a trivia site. The bumblebee never has. Or the bumblebee be sitting in therapy tomorrow with a bunch of other little bumblebees and little bitty folding chairs around a coffee pot saying, I thought I could fly, but I can't fly because I read this, and all of a sudden it'd be crushed. You know? So there's a lot of stuff you can get away with if you don't know you can. But Leonardo looked at these birds and he drew pictures of them, and he said, one day we're going to do that, and we'll talk more about that as it comes. But here's the thing, you see, and I love this image, is because if you go up on an airplane now we've refined his idea, and we've got it knocked, and sometimes we've gotten it so far out there we've had to dial it back, like the Concorde, you know, where you could fly to Europe in 6 hours. Well, we've had to, 3 hours. We had to even fly to 6 anyway, but we've had to dial this. The sonic boom was too much, and people complained, and so we've had to kind of scale down on this. But we are thinking about going to Mars, at least Elon Musk is. But if you get up on one of those fancy contraptions, the latest model, and you drop your coffee, it still falls on the floor because the principle of gravity still obtains. What's happened though? Another circle has been drawn around it. There are laws of aerodynamics, laws of harmonics, principles. Actually think of them as applications. In engineering school, they'll call them laws. But if you're here, just think of them as applications of the one law. Now here's the cool part. All of that's in the past. You've flown on planes, I've flown on planes. If we get to you, it's not a big deal. It's like, are they serving me a meal or what, or do they have Wi-Fi? But here's the thing. Let's look to the future. Where are we going to go with this? What do you want to do with it? What do you want to have happen? How do you want to fix this world, make this a better world? If there's not an application of the one law for that yet, there will be the time you're ready for it. And you will meet up with it. And all opposition will fall away. As Emerson said, there is a clear channel for you into your good. There'll be a new application developed. Ernest Holmes, the founder of this teaching, was not really specific about a lot of what he thought the future was going to look like, except he hoped that everybody would live together as brothers and sisters on this planet and get along and thrive and live in peace and creativity. But as far as exactly what was going to happen, he didn't really know, or at least he didn't commit it to print. But one thing he did believe was that the time would come, because as he got older, he faced death a lot. People he cared about died, or made their transition, if you want to call it in the euphemistic voice, but they went away out of this world. And he, as he got older, he began to face his own mortality. And he had a belief that the evolution of our species was going to involve death no longer being an outrage. And when we were no longer bothered by it, but saw it as a natural next step, that perhaps there could even be a swinging door between the worlds. And you could go and come and go and come, and beings would mingle with us. And not as frightening things, you know, but it'd be just, you take the body off, you put the body on, kind of like you do with your clothes every morning and night, you know? And we could just mix that way. Now, does that appeal to you? Does that intrigue you, or do you find it creepy? Doesn't matter. It's whatever, you know, whatever you think. But there's something that you can do that's never been done. And believe me, the last idea has not been exhausted. Down through the ages, in every science and every art, somebody has fashioned something new. A new style, a new genre, a new compilation of things. Somebody pointed out one time a piano is a harp laid sideways and stuck in a case. We had stringed instruments all the way back to when they were plucking ivy, strands of stuff in the forests and stringing them together, and you get them taut enough and they make a little sound. You can also do that on one of those hard-boiled egg cutting things. You can make it, they have found you can, it's an E. It's actually an E, my hard-boiled egg cutter. Now this is all digitized. We had the piano tuner in the other day. They used to tune by ear with a little meter. Now it's all mechanical. Now it's all electronic. To A440 is the C to A, I think it's C to A440 is the pitch. You know. But this whole thing has been put in a thing that size now, and not just this piano, but the greatest piano on earth, which is probably the Bosendorf or Imperial, is now digitized, and it's in this, and so on and so on. And now this is going to be a chip, because it's a chip in there, and now the chip's, where's the chip going to be? Eventually, you know what? The whole thing's going to disappear. And when you need it, you just pull out your hand. And there it is, like we were just talking about in the board meeting. You watch NCIS and stuff, they do this. They say, the suspect's in Virginia, let's draw a map. And they do this in the air, and there's a map right there. How does that happen? I don't know. Maybe the technology already exists for that, and I'm not privy to it, or it's crazy. But we can't even begin to imagine right now what's going to meet us on the other side of our dreams in terms of the application of the law So, what we are going to know and are going to imagine is that such a thing is possible. There is nothing to stand in your way. There is nothing to stop you or slow you down in your dream. All the universe, and I mean the whole thing, conspires to support you. And the word conspire means to breathe together. This great conspiracy, it's all working together for you to live out your dream for the benefit of all humankind. One principle, one principle. So whenever faced with an apparent challenge, or like the technology's not up to what you need it to be, or you don't have the materials at hand, or you're sitting there with this great idea and no real way to implement it, here's something you can do. And if you join me in doing it now, we'll just go here. There is one life, one power, one presence. That one is pure spirit. The one I am. The I am that I am. The sacred syllable, the Aum, that our Hindu friends believe was the syllable after which all creation moved into being. A sound was heard, and the void cracked right down the middle, and everything that is in recognizable form stepped forward. That power is the power you and I use. That power is the power we were born with to do great good. Now, I affirm and know that that power is not only in each one of us, but it's recognized by us there. To meet the case, as the saying goes, to meet the case. What is the case at hand? There's a problem to be solved. There's a dilemma to be straightened out. There's an emptiness to be filled. Or there's a fullness to be somewhat empty. And this principle has the wisdom, the understanding, the technique, everything in its possession as we call upon it. The way the ancients said, you call upon the name of the Lord. We will call upon the name of the law, spiritual law, to do that which needs to be done. And suddenly where there was just a chasm, there is now a bridge. Suddenly where there was now just a blank page, there's a series of words forming into an idea. Where there was a blank canvas, suddenly now there's a picture taking form. And in whatever art or science we're drawn to, or multiple ones altogether, this principle still obtains, still works, whatever the demand placed on it. It responds in kind, by corresponding. Therefore, we have everything we need to be everything we are. And for this knowing and its manifestation in form everywhere we turn, I am so deeply grateful. I release this word now into the infinite, calling it done, and so it is.